Good evening, everyone. The time is 5 o'clock, and we're going to get started on time. My name is Emily Duncan, and I work for the Utility Regulatory Commission, also known as the IURC. The IURC is hosting tonight's field hearing. If you aren't familiar, we are the state government agency responsible for the regulation of public utilities in the state of Indiana. The agency includes 5 appointed commissioners who each have an equal vote on all formal cases before the commission. The IURC hears evidence in cases filed before it and makes decisions based on the evidence presented in those cases. The IURC is required by state statute to make decisions in the public interest to ensure the utilities provide safe and reliable service at just and reasonable rates. Field hearings, such as this one, provide you with the opportunity to formally offer comments to the Commission on cases under consideration. Before the Commission reaches a decision in the case, it reviews evidence presented by all parties, including the comments shared here tonight. We are joined by Chairman Houston, Commissioners Bennett and Valletta, and Administrative Law Judge Boyd, and our court reporter Linda, who will record your comments to be included in the official record of the case. Because this is a pending proceeding before the IURC, the Commissioners and the Administrative Law Judge are not allowed to answer questions or engage in any discussion about the case. They are here to listen to you. Of course, if you have any questions about tonight's hearing, feel free to find me in the back of the room. And if you are planning to speak tonight, you will see 2 mics. The one here, and then this one is the court reporter's mic. The most important one to speak into is the black. All right, and as a reminder, we are starting right at 5 o'clock. And we have until 7:15 to take formal testimony. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to the Indiana Office of Utility Consumer Counselor, which is the state agency that formally represents the consumer interest in matters before the Commission. Olivia Rivera from the OUCC will offer some comments.
Thanks, Emily. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Olivia Rivera, and I'm with the OUCC, the separate state agency representing the public in this case and in other cases before the Commission. There are 4 things that we want you to know before this hearing begins. Number 1, tonight's hearing has one purpose, and that is to hear comments from the public. You will not see a presentation from the utility tonight because it filed its case in writing back in April. The OUCC's fact sheet has a brief summary of the utility's request, along with other information about the case. Again, tonight is all about giving you the chance to speak to the Commission. Number 2, this is one of many steps in the case process. Those steps are listed in the fact sheet, and a final order from the IURC is not expected until early next year. Number 3, a team of attorneys, accountants, engineers, and other experts from our office are reviewing the utility's request, and we are scheduled to file testimony and recommendations on July 11th. Number 4, you should have received a form alongside your fact sheet. If you would like to speak tonight, please fill out the top half of that form and return it to our table. If you don't want to speak tonight, but you would still like to make comments, you can do so in writing using that same form or after the hearing through the avenues noted in the fact sheet. Written comments carry equal weight to the spoken comments heard here tonight. They will become part of the formal case record so long as we receive them by July 5th. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to find me or another member of the OUCC team. And with that, I will turn it over to Judge Boyd to begin the hearing.
Good evening. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to provide the general public an opportunity to testify concerning the relief requested in this cause. Testimony may be provided orally or in writing. Regardless of how comments are provided, they will all become part of the record in this case and will be considered by the Commission. This is a formal hearing, and all testimony will be given under oath. As a formal proceeding, much like you would see in a courtroom, outbursts in the form of booing, cheering, or clapping are simply not permitted. In order for all testimony to be properly taken down by the court reporter, it is important that each witness speak into the microphone slowly and clearly and have the opportunity to testify without interruption. So that all members of the general public can present their views, oral testimony should only address the specific issues addressed in this proceeding. Namely, issues related to Duke Energy Indiana's request for authorization to increase its electric utility service rates and charges. This will allow the field hearing to progress in an efficient manner that should allow all participants an opportunity to testify before the commission. Individuals testifying are encouraged to avoid repetitive testimony. Again, the commission will consider all public comments, whether they are made orally or in writing. However, state law prevents us from answering any questions tonight as part of this proceeding. If you are going to testify orally, Carol Sparks Graves, 2 seats tonight allowed, counsel for the Indiana Office of Utility Center Counselor, will then let you know when to approach the microphone. And at this time, if you have not already done so, please turn off or silence your cell phones and other electronic devices. I want to give special thanks to the Hamilton East Library and the staff for hosting this tonight, and they ask that we ask attendees not to sit on tables. This is a field hearing before the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission and constituted before the Commission's cause number 46038, action as petition of Duke Energy Indiana LLC pursuant to Indiana Code Sections 8-1-2-42.7 and 8-1-2-61 for 1, authority to modify its rates and charges for electric utility service through a multi-rate implementation of new rates and charges using the forecasted test period. 2, approval of new schedules of rates and charges, general rules and regulations and riders. 3, approval of revised electric depreciation rates applicable to its electric plant and service, and approval of regulatory asset treatment upon retirement of the company's last coal-fired steam generation plant. 4, approval of an adjustment to the company's FAC rider to track coal inventory balances. And 5, approval necessary and appropriate accounting relief, including authority to A, defer to regulatory asset expenses associated with the Edwardsport carbon capture and sequestration study. B, defer to the regulatory asset costs incurred to achieve organizational savings. And C, defer to a regulatory asset liability as applicable, all calculated income differences resulting from future changes in tax rates. Those are the time and place of today's field hearing was given as provided by law by publication in Marion County for the Indianapolis Star on May 31st, 2024, Hamilton County for the Hamilton County Reporter on June 3rd, 2024, and for the Times on June 5th, 2024. These are newspapers of known circulation, and these publications were made at least 10 days before the field hearing. The proof of publication of the notices have been received by the Commission and are now incorporated into the record as policy reference and placed in the official files of the Commission. Notice also been given to the Indiana Office of Utility City Councilor and other interested parties. We have appearances, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Appearing on behalf of petitioner Beth Hennigan, 1000 East Main Street, Plainfield, Indiana.
Thank you, Your Honor. On behalf of Citizens Action Coalition of Indiana, or CAC, please accept the appearance of Jennifer Washburn.
Appearing on behalf of the Indiana Office of Utility Consumer Counselor, Carol Sparks Drake.
Thank you, Counsel. At this time, I will swear in the members of the public who plan to give testimony tonight. If you plan to testify at this field hearing, please stand if you're able and raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm that evidence you will give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. Ms. Sparks Drake, please rise.
Thank you, Your Honor. What we will do so as to move this along efficiently, to enable as many folks as can to provide testimony this evening, I'm going to call 3 names. First person should please come to the podium. The other 2, I have 3 seats down here in front. If you would please go ahead and come up front and then move to the podium as it is your turn. And when you come to the podium, please say your name and spell it. Okay, the first 3 people I would appreciate moving to the front of the room. Jason Tomisi, Bob Rice, and Nancy Vesely. Sir, if you would please state your name and spell it for the reporter.
Yes, my name is Jason Tomsey, JASON TOMCSI. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jason Tomsey, and I am a Duke customer who resides in Fishers, but I'm here speaking tonight on behalf of AARP Indiana and the Hoosiers over 50 across the state who are Duke residential customers. Many of the Hoosiers most impacted by this request are on low or inflexible incomes, which makes rising electricity bills a challenge when combined with higher groceries, housing, and medical costs. Any increase, no matter how small, can make a significant impact on these Hoosiers and their families' budgets. While AARP Indiana supports a resilient energy grid, especially in the sweltering summer, we are alarmed at the size of the rate increase, which needs close review and should be dramatically cut. Our specific comments to the case are as follows. The 10.5% requested return is too high. The 10.5% requested return is excessive and out of line with what commissions are authorizing in other states. We think the rate of return should be like the 8.8% that the OUCC has recommended in the Centerpoint case, or an 8.7 return that we have seen go into effect for utilities in our neighboring state of Illinois. The proposed rate increase overall is excessive. Duke wants an overall increase of 16%. The increase for residential customers, though, is 19%, or a $28 per month increase. But that increase has the potential to be higher, as has been shown by the analysis from the Citizen Action Coalition that shows Hoosiers will be paying $42 more a month when it's all said and done. AARP Indiana supports a significant reduction in the spending request, or for Duke to trim or postpone the spending. Ratepayers cannot afford such a huge increase, even if it is spread out over 2 years. The IURC should also reduce or eliminate the 10 trackers which allows Duke to skip normal regulatory scrutiny and raise rates automatically. The customer charge should also not be increased. Duke wants to raise the customer charge from $10.54 to $13.70 per month. Higher customer charge to make controlling your energy bill more difficult. The IURC should also review the annually declining block rate structure. The declining block rate structure, which charges less for power the more you use, is such an antiquated rate design that few utilities still use it. It was popular in the 1960s to encourage electricity when electricity was cheap and plentiful. The IURC should order Duke to tell grid operator MISO that the $40 billion in planned transmission spending is excessive, and that local alternatives such as local generation, local storage, grid enhancing technologies, and non-wire alternatives should be explored instead. Indiana ratepayers are on the hook for 15% of such MISO spending, much of which benefits faraway states who have costly mandates that Hoosiers are forced to pay. MISO should heed the recommendation of its own market monitor, including stop inflating the benefits with questionable adders and over-relying on uneconomic long-distance lines. In closing, AARP Indiana is alarmed that every rate increase that comes before the Commission is now nearing 20%. We need affordability and reliability to take center stage. We urge the Commission to send a signal to Duke and all Indiana utilities that such excessive spending needs need to stop. We appreciate the opportunity to comment, and thank you for coming out today.
If Susan Schechter would please come on down, Mr. Rice.
My name is Bob Rice, B-O-B-R-I-C-E. I am the Energy Manager for Hamilton Southeastern Schools, located here in Fishers, Indiana. As a district, we own and operate over 20 buildings representing over 4 million square feet under roof. This is more property than Lucas Oil, Bankers Light Fieldhouse, Salesforce Tower, and the Indianapolis Convention Center combined. As a forward-thinking school district, we strive to provide excellence in education and opportunities to our over 21,000 students. To provide our students and staff the optimal learning environment, we purchase electricity from Duke Energy to keep the lights on and the HVAC running. We are in fact one of Duke's largest clients in Hamilton County. Annually, we purchase over 35 million kilowatt hours, resulting in an average annual electric bill of over $3.5 million. Any changes to the utility rates will have a large impact on our ability to pay our bills and educate our students. I have been monitoring this rate case and reading comments from other public hearings. People are concerned about this rate increase and its impact it will have on their electric bills. I understand and share the concerns. However, my position at HSE gives me an uncommon perspective. Duke Energy has been a great community partner for HSE schools. I work collaboratively with many Duke employees to ensure that we have reliable, resilient, and stable power for our buildings. Without power, we cannot have school. Duke Energy has been an amazing partner ensuring that if there is a power outage, we're kept informed of the issue, provided a timeline for repair, and have a debrief after the event. Power outages are few and far between with Duke. If an issue occurs, Duke typically has an issue resolved for our school within a reasonable time. This helps minimize impacts on our students and staff. In talking with energy managers and sustainability managers from other districts around the country, this is not the case with many other utility companies. Based on my conversation with peers, Duke has made themselves more available than other utility providers around the country. Duke Energy has also been a great partner and a champion for our community members and local schools within their territory. Duke Energy has provided several grants to area schools that expand educational opportunities and help create career pathways for our students. Some recent grants Duke has provided to HSE schools helped create a mobile STEM lab, supported a STEM competition by our Fishers High School students, and purchased an aquaponics system for the teacher and residents at the Fishers Agri Park. This grant not only benefits HSE students, but also Fishers residents. Any visitor to the Agri Park can learn about renewable energy, aquaponics, and the city has a goal of supplying fish to the local residents thanks to the Duke Foundation grant. Duke Energy also offers various programs that consumers can utilize. Duke Energy has a fleet analysis program, solar leasing option, energy assessment program, community impact grants, energy saving program, and offers home assessments. These programs are designed to help consumers. Many of these programs HSE schools has taken advantage of. One example of a Duke program that benefits our students is a partnership with the National Theater for Children. This is a free program for schools that brings professional actors to the buildings. They use sketch comedy to introduce students to core educational concepts like energy resources, sustainability, and career pathways. Duke has a robust rebate program for businesses and residents also. Over the past 8 years, Duke Energy has worked with HSE schools and helped provide over $700,000 in rebates to our schools. This money is then funneled back into our classrooms to help educate our students. Thank you for allowing me time to shine a light on some of the community programs and outreach that Duke does to benefit children and residents living in their territory. I do not envy your position as commissioners reviewing these rate cases. No one likes to see prices increase and inflation has hit everyone hard. People and businesses are both feeling budgetary crunches. You must make difficult decisions whether to approve or deny Duke's requests based on the merit of the filings and input you have from the community. Thank you again for your time.
If Dorothy Keys, please come down. If you would please state your name and spelling.
My name is Nancy Vesley, spelled V-E-S-E-L-Y. I'm a residential electric consumer of Duke Energy because I don't have a choice. I request that the Commission deny Duke's proposal to increase my electric bill by $42 a month. Duke profited $2.87 billion, with to be $1 billion in 2023. I stayed in my house, which was an accomplishment considering living paycheck to paycheck. Me and 50% of Indiana's residents, adults, are living paycheck to paycheck. Same on Duke, 95% of their power is coming from fossil fuels. Doing what I could, I ended up putting solar panels on my house. And Duke very nicely in 2017 got net metering removed from Indiana. So instead of just seeing one person up here, think of me as like about 2 million people in Indiana, adults, living paycheck to paycheck. We request the commission to deny Duke's proposal to increase our electric bill by $42 a month.
Ariana Graciana.
I'd like to change to a written statement, please.
Beg your pardon?
I prefer to do a written statement instead, please.
She wants to say that's right. She wants to say it right.
If you would please state your name and spell it.
My name is Susan Schechter. That's SUSANSCHECHTER. I'm a residential and commercial ratepayer to Duke Electric, Indiana. I'm a grandmother of 3 children who live in Indiana. I am the president of the Tippecanoe County Fairfield Township Board. I drove here today from Lafayette to share with the Regulatory Commission how this Duke rate increase will impact me, my family, and my community. As the president of my township board, I see how Duke's proposed rate increase will seriously destabilize families that are struggling. The median household income in Lafayette in 1922 was $50,674. With the rate increase, most households would be spending over 5% of their income to pay their electric bill. In January of 2023, 10% of Indiana households received a disconnect notice for their electric. This proposed residential rate increase will break many Lafayette households. Please deny this request. As a business owner, I question Duke's request for an increase in shareholder profits from 9.7 to 10.5%. That would be the highest rate paid to any electric utility in the state. My business operates on an open market. I have to control costs and provide value to customers to earn a profit. Duke's Gibson and Edwardsport coal plants are costing Duke customers millions of dollars each year. In 2023, Duke's Gibson plant was the worst performing coal plant in any U.S. electric wholesale market, losing $55.6 million. How does that earn a fair reward to shareholders? I don't get it. Duke is a state-mandated monopoly. It is shielded from competition, and it's asking to be rewarded for their poor business decisions by yoking ratepayers with a massive rate increase. Customers cannot choose their provider. It is contingent upon the state, through the Regulatory Commission, to stand up and protect consumers from bad utility decisions. Indiana needs to own up to its role in Duke's poor performance. Please do not continue to reward poor performance. Deny this request. As a residential ratepayer, I invested in rooftop solar. It was a good investment. It's paying me back, and it will pay me back for years. Duke's request to raise monthly connection fees by 29% from $10.54 to $13.70 which will discourage investment in energy efficiency and solar energy. This increase is not justified. My excess production feeds my neighbors' electric demands with minuscule transmission losses. Duke's antipathy to distributed generation is a good example of how innovation in electric production is being stifled in our state. Stand up for innovation. Stand up for residential ratepayers. Deny this request. As a grandmother, I beg you to consider the impacts of your decisions on our children and grandchildren. Duke is Indiana's largest utility and the furthest behind in transitioning to renewable energy. Duke still generates 95% of our electricity from fossil fuels and has added virtually no renewable energy since 2021. Our grandchildren will pay for this failure to curb greenhouse gas emissions. They will suffer extreme weather with heat domes, floods, droughts, tornadoes, hurricanes, damaging hail, and international instability that results from pressure on global food systems. Extinction events arising from rapid ecosystem collapse. It goes on and on. It is your responsibility to hold Duke responsible, to hold all the utilities in Indiana responsible and accountable. Deny this rate request. The Commission has a difficult job. There are lots of moving parts to delivering electric in the state. Electric that is reliable, affordable, and will sustain our communities now and in the future. Innovation in the electricity sector is exploding. Keeping up with new opportunities in clean energy technology can feel like drinking from a fire hose. I know that. I do try to keep up. But you need to make reliable, unbiased decisions based on good information. Lobbyists and trade groups have an agenda. Trust them at our risk. Okay. We need to take advantage of smart new technologies to benefit ratepayers and our communities. It is your task to make this captured market work. Please deny this request. Deny this request in its entirety. Don't play the game of approving half the request. Duke loads up the filing with egregious items so that half the pie will do quite nicely. But deny the request in its entirety. Thank you.
Amanda Cross, Charles Morris, Ms. Keys, if you would come to the podium, please.
Thank you.
If you please state your name and spell it for the court reporter.
My name is Dorothy Keys, D-O-R-O-T-H-Y-K-E-Y-E-S. I've lived in the Indianapolis area for almost 40 years, the last 14 being here in Fishers. And during that time, I have worked in IT for over 35 years. As such, I am fully aware of our increased energy needs as customers. Proliferation of cell phones, electric cars, and almost any new innovation is going to require the need for more electricity. But I'm also aware of the impact that's having on our environment. We ourselves have personally implemented everything we can in order to save energy. We've replaced our furnace with a heat pump, we've installed solar sidewalk lights, we've switched out LED light bulbs. Anything that we can that's reasonable to do, we've done. But we need to expect our utilities to do the same thing. With this increase, Duke is wanting to put millions of dollars into the existing coal facilities so that they can burn an additional 500,000 more tons of coal every year from now until 2029. As has already been said, Duke is the slowest utility to convert to clean energy in the state. At this point in time, I get that money for maintenance of existing facilities needs to be spent to get us by. We do this in IT all the time. If you've got to put a new system in, you still have to maintain the old one. But any new money requested should not be put into coal. It should only be put into clean energy. We need to do this for our future to survive. For that reason, I'm requesting that you deny this request in its entirety. Money should only be spent on clean energy at this point in time. We can't accept anything less. Thank you.
John Young.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Cross.
Wait, hold on, can you go to that microphone? I can barely hear you. Thank you.
How's that?
That's good, thanks.
Amanda Cross, A-N-A-N-D-A. Cross, C-R-O-S-S. Thank you for the chance to talk to you today. I've lived in Carmel and been a Duke customer for 16 years. I serve on the board of the Carmel Green Initiative, and I am passionate about the environment, equity, and eradicating poverty. Over the last 5 years, Duke has evaluated many programs that are better than the roadmap we're on today. During their last 20-year energy planning session, they considered plans that would have quickly retired coal and more rapidly built renewable energy. And these plans were affordable, in some cases cheaper than what we have, and would have dramatically reduced pollution. But they said they couldn't get the clean energy running fast enough. Any normal person in that situation would get as much clean energy as they could and try to fill in the rest. But Duke Energy apparently doesn't think like other normal people. Duke instead threw out those clean energy roadmaps and chose instead to go with more dirty, expensive coal. Duke's Gibson coal plant was one of the worst economic performers in the USA in 2023. Both the Gibson and the Edwardsport coal plants lose millions of dollars every year. That's no problem for Duke Energy. They bring in billions of dollars of profit each year because they can just make us customers pay for it. This can't be allowed. Our neighbors can't afford it. It's not fair. It's not our fault that Duke chose to spend more money on a less suitable product. I've sat in those planning sessions. I know firsthand that we told them we didn't want them to follow that dirty, expensive plan. Hoosiers shouldn't lose their hard-earned money because Duke Energy went against ratepayer wishes and threw good money after bad coal. What if this sort of thing happened in any other part of our life? What if you asked your babysitter to go to the store and buy a 25-pack of diapers, but the store only had 15 packs of diapers, so she came back with 25 silk scarves instead? Would you be happy to have spent so much more money on something that leaves you in a bigger mess? By the way, in this analogy, the babysitter is a billionaire. You can't get a different babysitter. And you have to pay for whatever she decides to buy, plus a 10.5% return on equity. No one would accept that situation. It's ridiculous. This situation is also ridiculous. But it's also deadly serious. What happens when people have to choose between feeding their children healthy food and keeping the heat on in dangerously cold winters that Duke has made more dangerous with their carbon emissions? What happens when people have to choose between getting their prescription medication and keeping the AC running so they don't die of heat exhaustion in heat domes that Duke itself has helped to create. Duke Energy alone has chosen this expensive and polluting approach, and Duke Energy alone should pay for it. Customers must not be compelled to foot this bill. If anything, customers should get a rate reduction for the mess Duke Energy has gotten us into. Thank you for your time. I appreciate that.
Mr. Mulgrew? If you would please state your name and spell it for the court reporter.
Charles Mulgrew, CHARLESMULRY. Thank you to all the people here for this chance to speak to you. I'm not representing any organization. I'm a Carmel resident. I've been a Duke account for many years. I actually am a retired physician, so I'm not going to talk about things that affect my income. I was able to put solar panels on my house about 4 or 5 years ago, and I've now sent back money to the grid, and I get credit from Duke. My energy usage, according to my bill last month, was 66 kilowatt hours. I have a credit of 11,506 kilowatt hours. When I put the solar panels in, I was erroneous in my thinking that I might be able to get a check back from Duke for the amount of energy I sold to them. I was incorrect with that, and now I've been aware that I get credit. I don't think if my usage is 66 kilowatt hours per month that I'll ever be able to get this credit back. What I'm here is speaking for, I think, kind of the average person who's here. To say, if I had a business that's asking for a rate increase, I currently have a 9.7%, and I want to increase that to 10.5%. I want to know why that business needs to have that increase. Are they floundering at their current rate? Can they not produce the services that they need to produce? If that's so, then I guess I would be in favor of that. And I have to admit, I haven't done research over the last 3, 4, or 5 years to see if Duke is a struggling company. I really don't think that's happening. So for the average person, I would request that you accept their current rate and not advance the rate they hire. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Martha Marchino.
I will submit my comments to writing.
Thank you. Chris Neal. Josh Lowry. Mr. Young?
I'm Chris Neal, CHRSNEEL. It's a blind date. We don't know what we're getting, and we have great expectations. But if you've been on a blind date before, which some of you may have been, it's not a fun thing if it turns into a disaster. You have regrets, you have feelings of remorse, and a sense of, why did we go down this road? Why did we build this relationship? I am the president of a homeowners association, and I'm a retired pastor. I've dealt with a lot of people going through divorce. And I feel like this is going to create a divorce for our state and for all those impacted, which is not a good thing. So we're dealing with a very volatile time for our country, as you all know. We have an election coming up in November. There's a lot of fear in our country and in our communities. And this brings more fear. Any type of sudden increase. Everyone's property taxes around here have gone up quite a bit. That has impacted people's fear. We have affordability concerns for the vulnerable. And it's your responsibility as this commission to help protect them and create a path forward that addresses the needs of the company, but more importantly, addresses the needs of the individuals that are benefiting from this company's services. That's been a question that you've all agreed to be part of this. Failure to do that can end in a divorce, a very bad relationship. So what we would need, and I'm totally against this proposed rate increase, it's 16%, 12% next year, 4% in 2026. Inflation is estimated between 3 and 5% for this year alone. We don't know what the future holds, but you guys have the ability to control the future and protect us from a divorce. So we need transparency and accountability. So how are these funds going to be used specifically, clearly articulated? And we deserve to know, what are they going to do with this? Are people at the top going to get big bonuses? Are they going to just pass it out to all their stockholders? It should be under direct control, and you're the only ones, you're the brakes. You can stop this. You can protect all of us. The impact of the community is also, we have all these businesses that have gone through COVID and gone through all these crises. You have the potential of impacting them and all of us in a very negative way. Or you can create a wonderful relationship. You can lay your head on the pillow tonight and think about, what are you going to do to help us all? Help the little guy. Help the businesses. Don't help all the big people that have the stocks and own all these billionaires. You got to think about the little people sitting in this room. Long-term planning. While short rate increases may be necessary, Duke Energy has to have a long-term plan that's viable, both for them, but most importantly, for the little guy. Keep the relationship healthy. And what are they going to do to enhance customer service and support? If you try to contact them, it's a nightmare. I don't know if any of you tried to call before. It's a nightmare. Maybe they take your calls, but they don't take ours, okay? So they need an ability to be held accountable for what are they going to do if they do get any kind of increase. And then the last thing, which has been brought up, sustainability. What are they going to do to invest in renewables that protect us now and my grandson and your grandchildren and generations ahead? If we don't do something, as in this group, you're the only brakes that can stop this. If you don't do something, the future of our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren are going to pay. And it's time that we step up, stand up, speak up, and do something different. Thank you.
I'm sorry? Yes, Mr. Young. Bear on deck. You're at the podium, please.
I'm John Young, John-Young, and I rise to speak against this rate increase for the sake of the poor people in Indiana. People who live on a fixed income cannot afford it. They're having to choose between heat and electricity and food and medicine. They can't afford it. And I also stand and rise on behalf of creation. We're called to care for God's good creation. And continuing to rely on coal is creating a disaster for Indiana. I work in disaster response, and it's increasing. It's increasing in Indiana. It's destroying our communities. And will continue to do so as we continue to rely on coal. So I advise you to reject this proposal, reject Duke's continued reliance on coal to protect God's good creation and all of our Hoosier children to come. Thank you.
Your Honor, Mr. Lowry needs to be sworn, please.
Mr. Argo, and approach the podium, if you would, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Okay, thank you, sir. Please state your full name and say your name as well.
Joshua Lowry, it's Joshualowry. $497 million. That's how much of a profit Duke, Indiana made last year. You're now asking, well, Duke is now asking the average Hoosier to pay $500 more a year. $497 million in pure profit off of all of us Hoosiers last year. And Duke is asking to raise our rates by $500 a year because $497 million was apparently not enough. I understand that Duke has said that there are certain investments they need to make. However, Duke has also asked to increase its profit margin when they're already making record profits. And every single one of us in this room and every single Hoosier has had to deal with inflation for years. And what we noticed was company after company saying, we have to charge you, the customer, more because our underlying costs have increased. It's 2024, the underlying costs start to decrease. None of us are paying anything less. And somehow every corporation is making record profits. The difference between some of those companies and Duke is when I go to the store, I get to make the decision whether I'm going to buy something or not. Here, Duke is asking the government to enforce their profit. It's basically a wealth transfer. We always hear that phrase thrown around when we're talking about taking our tax money and paying for kids to go to school. Some people fight that. But now what Duke is asking to do is literally Robin Hood in reverse. Increase our rates so they can have even more of a record profit. And when you're talking about Hoosiers, we're modest. There's no $1,000 suits in here. And yet Duke is asking to make the kind of profits that the money that Gordon Gekko would dream of. There has to be something more than just profit. There has to be consideration for how much profit is being made. We've heard several people mention there's plenty of evidence, but Duke has made some bad investments, some bad decisions, bought too much coal, not moved to solar quick enough. It's my understanding that they're the only electric company that is not going to be almost completely out of coal by 2030. Now, if one of us owned a business and we make bad investments and decisions, we don't get to go petition to the government to increase our profit. You eat a loss. And yet Duke is expecting to get treatment that nobody else in this room would get. So I ask that you deny this rate increase. Duke is already making record profits off of our back. It doesn't need to make any more. And one more thing, what's really bothersome is what I just said, that Duke is actually the only company not moving away from coal. And I believe in these reports it said that they're looking to retire 2 of their coal plants 2 years later than their RSA. They are literally making it harder for us to breathe and asking us to pay more for dirtier air. Please deny this increase. Thanks.
Zach Schulk, Wade Cat. And Your Honor, both of these gentlemen need to be sworn, please.
Both of you, please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Great, thank you. Sir, you can see.
If you would please state your name and spell it.
My name is Zach Schalk, Z-A-C-H-S-C-H-A-L-K. I'm the Indiana Program Director for Solar United Neighbors. We are a national nonprofit organization dedicated to helping Hoosiers go solar, join together and fight for their energy rights. And today I'm here to speak up on behalf of thousands of Sun members who are served by Duke Energy Indiana around the state. I'm also speaking up for one of my colleagues who's based in Bloomington, who has remained without power for the last 3 days, along with thousands of her neighbors. Luckily, she's safe and able to find a place to stay cool, but I know there are other neighbors down there who aren't so fortunate. So I'll start with the bottom line. Families served by Duke, and especially our most vulnerable neighbors around the state, simply can't afford their electric bills going up by more than $40 per month, especially not on top of the rate increase the company received just a few years ago.
Sir, please slow down just a little bit. Thank you.
The commission must put the needs and interests of those customers first and reject this outrageous request for even more profits on the backs of customers who are already struggling to afford this essential service that is required to provide. With prices up across the economy, now is not the time to increase another line item on the budgets of struggling Hoosiers around the state. Energy burden is a metric that measures the average amount of a household's budget that goes towards energy payments. As a state, Indiana has an average energy burden that's twice the national average, and that number is even higher for low-income households. Customers with a higher energy burden are more likely to struggle to make timely bill payments and potentially have their service disconnected by Duke. And according to the IU Energy Justice Lab, Duke disconnected more than 25,000 customers last year. A utility disconnection could be the tipping point that starts a downward spiral for a vulnerable household. This rate increase won't help those customers. Instead, it would force more hard decisions on them. Do we keep the lights on, or do we put food on the table? Duke's proposal also makes it harder for their customers to save money for investments that can benefit everyone served by the grid, like energy efficiency and rooftop solar. By increasing the monthly fixed charge and sticking with the regressive defined block rate structure, Duke's customers use less energy for whatever reason will have a harder time realizing some savings on it. Instead of raising electric rates, Duke Energy Indiana should be empowering customers to help make the Indiana electric grid cleaner, more resilient, more affordable. Hoosier families who want to keep our local grid strong and resilient with clean resources should be fairly compensated. And the company should be proposing new ways to equitably expand access to these tools so all households can benefit. What is Duke doing to support customer adoption of distributed energy resources like rooftop solar, battery storage, and other flexible loads that can provide local resilience and be coordinated together to meet the grid's needs as a virtual power plant? What is Duke doing to support real community solar projects that can be deployed quickly, provide new avenues for equitable wealth creation in underserved communities, and can be paired with storage to provide much needed reliability and resilience on the distribution system? Instead of seeking ever-increasing profits for their shareholders, Duke Energy Indiana should be working to support the families and communities it serves with all of the tools at its disposal. And without those provisions, I urge the IUSC to reject this proposed rate increase. Thank you for your consideration.
Mr. Peck, would you please state your name and spell it?
Yes. My name is Wade Catt. That's W-A-D-E-C-A-T-T. Greetings, commissioners and fellow community members. My name is Wade. I'm a current MD PhD student, Hoosier native, here to speak on behalf of the Good Trouble Student Coalition. We are medical student public health advocates for Hoosiers, and in that role, I'm here to speak to the public health impact of Duke's proposed energy rate hike. First, I just want to say that I hope everyone has been staying cool during this heat wave. It would be a real shame if anyone lost their electricity because they couldn't afford their bill. Or perhaps, like Duke customers in Bloomington, have had a power outage for the last 3 days yet to be resolved that we just heard about. Indiana has an average of 1 to 10 dangerous heat days per year, and last week in particular has been an example of how those feel for us all. Unfortunately, we can expect more of these dangerous heat days in the near future for our state. The National Weather Service estimates that currently we have 1 to 10 per year, but by year 2050, we will have 10 to 30 dangerous heat days every year. Heat can lead to health problems and exacerbate existing ones. Heat alone can lead to exhaustion, cramps, and rashes, with heat stroke being a serious medical emergency that can lead to multi-organ failure and even death. Heat can also worsen health conditions like heart disease, diabetes, asthma, kidney and lung diseases. Heat can increase the risk of transmitting infections and can lead to psychological symptoms such as irritability, sleep disturbances, and difficulty with concentration. Local survey data of Hoosier households shows that 20% of families cannot pay an energy bill for at least 1 month per year. 15% have received an energy shutoff notice, 7% have had a disconnection, and 30% of all Hoosiers indicate that they had to reduce or forego expenses for basic household needs, such as medicine, food, in order to pay an energy bill. With higher bills, we can expect that that problem will get worse. Communities in particular that will be impacted are senior citizens, those on fixed income, minoritized communities, families with young children, households with individuals who require electronic medical devices, and those in lower quality housing in general. These households are already struggling to decide whether to pay for their food, their medications, or their utility bills. And this proposed rate hike will have impacts on their health and the health of all of us. A household is considered energy insecure if it's either unable to afford its energy needs or does not have access. Energy insecurity is a well-described risk factor which is already known to cause worse health outcomes, both at the individual and community level in a variety of different ways. There's data indicating that people in energy insecure households are more likely to remain in poverty for longer periods of time, more likely to suffer adverse physical and mental health consequences, and they're more likely to die from heat, cold, or adverse weather events. As a medical student and future healthcare provider, the public health impacts of this rate hike will be long-lasting for our communities. Please deny Duke's rate hike request. I'd be happy to answer any questions you all have on the health-related impacts of heat, as well as the downstream impacts on public health this rate hike will bring. But let's forget about heat for a second. Forget about the health consequences of particulate matter being spewed into our air, or carcinogenic coal ash residues seeping into our waterways, which are serious issues. But the problem before us today, the immediate problem, is that people cannot afford medications because of their utility bills. This is a significant problem existing today in our state, and this rate hike directly makes that problem worse. And, our public health outcomes for people who are already vulnerable to energy insecurity related illnesses and death will worsen as a result. So, this is the decision you commissioners have before you. Do we make public health problem worse so that a monopoly can make even more money? Well, I would suggest that rather than rewarding the people responsible for this, Duke Energy should solve this problem by creating equitable rate structures that ensure affordability for low-income and vulnerable households. I further recommend expanding energy assistance programs to support people struggling with their energy bills, as well as instituting a summertime disconnection moratorium. As a member of Good Trouble, all of these recommendations align with our mission to promote health equity by ensuring Hoosiers have access to essential energy services without financial hardship. I also strongly urge Duke Energy to reconsider this rate hike and take meaningful steps to protect the health and well-being of all Hoosiers. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Your Honor, no additional members of the public have indicated an interest in providing testimony, so I would ask for a short break, please, so that if there is anyone who wants to testify, they can please go out to the OUCC table and they will help you complete that.
The time is 6 o'clock. We'll take a walk record for a 10-minute break.
Your Honor, we have one additional member of the public, Nathan Rules, who will be offering comments, and he needs to be sworn in, please.
Thank you, sir. Do you swear or affirm on the promise of perjury that do you swear or affirm that testimony will not be able to ensure the whole truth and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you, sir.
If you would please state your name and spell it.
My name is Nathan Bruce, N-A
Thank you.
As a customer of a regulated utility, I feel that people in this room feel like they don't have a choice. But we actually do have a tremendous choice to affect Duke's profits. We have the power because we use the power. Most people don't know that the electricity costs actually fluctuate throughout the days and throughout the seasons. Duke's wholesale rates fluctuate from 40 cents a kilowatt hour on a summer afternoon like today to negative couple cents an hour on a spring day. Price, as we learned today, is a great form of communication to get your point across. However, Duke does not offer time of use metering to any of its residential customers in Indiana. Therefore, there is no incentive for people in this room to change when they use the power and therefore affect the generation costs on Duke's end. We can use the existing grid better without heavy infrastructure costs. Not saying don't do infrastructure costs, but we can get a lot more out of our existing grids. It requires smart metering, which has been on my house for over a decade, which was rolled into my rate to pay for the smart metering, which is being underutilized as a smart meter. It's basically not being used across Indiana as a smart meter. So the infrastructure and the technology is in place. Duke has not rolled out time of use, which is common across utilities, across many states. It's not a new technology, not really an innovation. I would approve the rate increase that Duke is asking for after the optional opt-in option for all residents in this affected area to have the option of time of use billing. And then after that is made, that option is made to the affected customers, then you can approve the rate increase. Thank you.
Gloria Linville and Jim Grimes. Ms. Linville, if you would come to the podium, please. State your name and spell it.
Gloria Linville, Glorialinville. I don't have a lot of statistics for you. I looked at solar energy on my house. One of the deterrents for me was the fact that Duke was going to reduce the amount of payback. Someone got up here and says they just get a credit. I kind of originally thought they would give you money back on your what you have to pay for, or do something else with it. Anyway, there's a book, Drawdown, and electric vehicles and other kinds of things like that are very minimal in what we need to do in this country for our energy usage. And plant-based eating is very high on the top of the list in terms of reducing the amount of energy we use. And I am a plant-based eater, so I didn't go solar, but I do plant-based. I encourage people to look into that. Thanks.
Mr. Grimes.
Yes. My name is Jim Grimes, Jim, Grimes. I did not plan to speak tonight, but I just wanted to mention that I heard three things in the first session that I just wanted to reiterate. Three things that impressed me. Number one was the fact that Duke is a monopoly, that we often, when we understand that corporations try to earn a profit, we respect that right. But we have a choice when companies raise prices, and but not in this case. Not when there's a monopoly situation. You, as the board or the IURC, are the only intervention that can prevent, but you are our choice, basically. You're the only people that can exercise our choice on whether we pay this or not. So that was one thing that impressed me in what I heard earlier. And the second thing that I heard over and over again, and I think it's very true, Duke is not transitioning to clean energy at the speed that other utilities in the state are, and certainly at the speed of other utilities throughout the country. This is really important, and there are hidden costs to that lack of transition to renewable energy. And we pay those costs, not Duke. They get to pollute with greenhouse gases for free. The third thing that I heard was the issue of affordability. That many people are just simply don't have the income to withstand another price increase, no matter where it comes from, whether it's from their electricity or their health care or wherever. And I think that with this rate increase, the problem that was mentioned about disconnects that occur in fairly large numbers, I was very surprised. That is only going to get worse. And so I hope you will consider these 3 points that I heard, and I wanted to reiterate in order to reject this request by Duke to raise their rates. Thank you.
Your Honor, no further members of the public have indicated a desire to offer comments this evening. I would move for the admission of FHC1.
Any objections from the CAC?
No.
No objections. Any objections from the petitioner? No objections from the petitioner either. Public exhibit FHC1 is submitted into the record into the evidence without objection. Ms. Sparks-Brady, do you further?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Sparks-Brady, and thank you for everyone for your participation in tonight's appeal hearing. Cause number 46038 is continued, so the appeal hearing to be held in Albany at a date and time to be set forth in a subsequent document. We will now go off record. Thank you.